reason I say that is because everything that we do in life, look at this guy, he might turn in front of me, gotta slow it up, can be dangerous, right? Guns, bicycles. I know guys who have mountain biked who've got totally jacked up. Much worse than anybody I know on a motorcycle. Guy has some fused vertebrates. He was mountain biking, went over a cliff. Knives. Doing survival stuff out in the woods all alone. You cut yourself, cut an artery. Hiking. You hike stupidly, slip and fall to your death in some cases. Happens every year. Free climbing on cliffs. Life is full of this stuff. I believe in operating dangerous things responsibly. My whole channel's about that. I try to model it too. Some people go, oh, you know, that doesn't make me comfortable. You know, whatever. Don't watch the video. No apologies. It's the way I live my life. It's proven to be safe. Cool dude right there. Can't see it. I always wave with left hand.
Well, I think we ought to just mention, because every week someone you know, they always write in and, hey, should I buy a Ninja 250? Should I get into biking? Should I start on a CBR? We ought to just talk about whether or not they should bike. Because it's
exactly
big. And that if we do that, we could go over all the different stuff, because it applies to like rock climbing, skydiving, freaking hang gliding, all these different
dangerous
things.
hobby.
Yeah, any dangerous hobby. Shooting to
excellent.
an extent. Because, you know, anytime you do a lifestyle choice or a hobby that introduces risk in your life, you really have to evaluate yourself and see if you're ready to take that on or not.
Excellent.
Let's see if we just talked about that.
Excellent point, Doodle. That's the purpose of this video. And we got a lot to talk about. Your decision whether you should motorcycle. We are in the man cave, by the way, and we've never filmed like this before. In the backdrop is a KTM 1190, FJR 1300 on the left, on my left. And then we got Suspect's bike. That's a Honda VFR. That's an 06, right?
Is it? I think
Yeah.
it's an 08.
No, it's an
06.
06, dude.
Is it?
Yeah, with ABS. We'll get to that, trust me. we will get to the ABS selection. Man, we got a lot of great stuff to talk about. So we got a cruise. It's going to be kind of a free-form discussion. And these guys will bounce in. We may come back to certain points. But the ground we have to cover to help you make a decision is immense. And we're going to start off with a focus on you. So if somebody comes up to us and they go, hey, Doodle, I love seeing your motorcycle vids. You guys are rocking, having a great time, family experiences. Should I start motorcycling? What would you tell them?
It entirely depends on them.
Yeah.
It totally does. It depends on how you are as a person.
Bingo. Bingo. What kind of person are you? And I would say, hey, should I start motorcycling? I would say a big maybe, probably not. Almost to the point you have to convince me you have certain aspects or traits to your personality, your character, before I would feel good about you jumping on a sport bike, heck, even a dirt bike, because we want you to be safe. We don't want you to get hurt. We don't want you to lay down a bike in heavy traffic and get killed.
And a good place to start is what do your friends say about it?
So talk about that a little bit. Why are your friends a good judge instead of yourself?
I think everybody's biased. I mean, I am, especially if you look at driving. You tend to look at other people and say, hey, that guy's blasting past me, what is he doing? But I think it's better to look at what you're doing first, and nobody's better at doing that than anybody but you.
Does that apply to mistakes in traffic, whether you're in a four-wheel vehicle or a two-wheel?
Big time.
So someone honks to you, they flip you off. Do we look at ourselves and go, what did I do, or did I do anything to precipitate
Usually
that
it's just,
event?
man, that guy's a real dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Is that we should look at ourselves, if we can, evaluate what kind of personalities we are, and then use outside people. Honest family members, and by the way, we are brutally honest with each other, are we not? Yeah. You should hear us off camera. No, we can't film it. We just can't film it, but we'll just leave it at that. Use friends that know you well and ask them, hey, do you think I'm a careless person? Before you take up motorcycling. That's what you should ask them. And tell them, say, hey, I want you to be super honest with me. Do you think I'm a careful, thoughtful, responsible, mature, that's huge, mature person? And you might be surprised what you hear. Look at your own vehicle, your car. Is it all banged up from fender benders? Guess what? That fender bender on a motorcycle could kill you. So while you're in the phone thinking about this, thinking about that, you're not multitasking properly, you ding your car on a motorcycle, it could be much more serious, right?
You don't have that cage around. I'd say, are you decisive? Can you decide and act quickly? Are you comfortable with that? Are you attentive?
Yep.
How far ahead do you look in traffic? Do you look one car length? Do you look across the intersection? Do you try to predict traffic patterns?
And you can build some of these habits, but I think you can't build them if there's no fundamental kind of instinctive base to start on.
I think you can be apt to bike and pilot things because it really transfers across all these different vehicles.
Yeah.
And I think the group of people, while they exist, that can't drive or operate any machinery at all,
Or
they're
like
really
to
small.
drive. They may not like to drive.
Especially.
That they look at driving as a burden.
Oh, I'd say the majority of people now are not enthusiasts.
Maybe the
At
majority.
least my age, though.
Yeah.
Look at my age group. How many kids aren't getting driver's licenses?
That's correct.
They don't care. They just want a free ride.
There's a movement in the United States to take human beings out of automobiles. The technology already exists. All they need is an infrastructure, roads for instance, and it's from the protectionists, and they'll say, hey, we're from the government, we're here to help you, let's take people out of cars, that way everybody lives, we don't trust you. You guys want to text anyhow, right? You want to be in your electronic devices, then be in them, let the car do the driving. Myself, I'm a pilot by nature. That's the way I was born. I love piloting jets, I like piloting cars, I like piloting motorcycles. Chances are, if you're watching to this point, you're the same way.
And if you aren't and you're really curious about how it goes, like for me, it really depends on the mood. Am I aiming for economy where it's a challenge to be as smooth and as efficient as possible? Am I aiming for speed? Am I trying to drive it a certain way? Am I mastering a skill? If you're a piloting type of person, you get enjoyment out of just the tactile experience of driving something, of doing it. Of
And I'd
operating
say
it.
if you're an achievement-oriented person, which a lot of people may not even
Talk
think
to them.
they are, but if you like setting something, accomplishing that, and getting better, biking is all of that. It's not just one challenge.
Yep.
You get your license, well, get better at this, get better at that, and it keeps going. That's why it's really
Proficiency.
rewarding.
And you feel that feeling of flow when you're really doing it perfect. Like for me, when I monitor my MPG and it's going up, like on my FJ, if I can just get it around 50, every ounce of momentum I'm trying to save and keep it minimum, it's a game to me.
He loves the economy aspect, and it's funner than
I
heck.
get the high scores in the
Cornering
family, man.
performance.
He'll come home and brags like, dude,
Twisties.
I got 55 miles a gallon now, the FGR 1300, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of aspects and challenges to motorcycling. It's kind of like in the jet world, piloting jets. You never arrive. You never go, hey, I'm a jet pilot and I've learned everything I know ever have to know to fly these jets well. It is never like that. In fact, that is the worst thing you can do. You are always a student. You're always teachable. I take notes and say, I didn't like how I did this. I screwed this up. I want to do better. And I'm constantly striving to become an expert in the Air Force, a weapons system, in motorcycling, in that particular motorcycle. Each one has its cool, really fun, distinctive personality and capabilities, and I want to master it. I want to pilot it. But some people aren't like that. They are more spectators than doers. They'd much rather watch a football game rather than go playing football. Ask yourself what kind of person you are. Are you responsible enough? If you come away from that question and really an honest self-assessment and you go, yeah, I'm pretty responsible in life. I pay my bills on time and my car's in one piece. It's not really
It's
dinged
for you.
up. My friends say I'm pretty responsible. Then continue. It's probably good.
And then you need to look at risk.
Bingo. And that's the next thing. Your foundation then is a sense of responsibility and maturity, because putting on an immature person on a really super fast sport bike or super sport is a recipe for disaster. I was talking to a friend of mine. His dad owns a motorcycle dealership. These kids come in with their parents who are going to bankroll the bike purchase, and he basically is trying to talk them out of it. So he can make money. He's like, hey, why don't you go to something like a Versus? Go to this lower powered bike. But because he can tell from the family, that particular kid, that there isn't a maturity level there to handle the power. Really important. Only you can answer that. And like Suspect said, the risk level. How much are you willing to take? And if I were to ballpark it, actually I'll ask Doodle, what would you ballpark motorcycle riding risk? In other words, the risk factor versus you'll be absolutely safe. What do you think the ratio is?
I think it's about 90-10.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think 90% of your safety is in your control. And it's sad that they haven't updated the hurt report because it's all from the 80s. But you eliminate stuff like not wearing a helmet, not drinking, not driving. And normally it's like they've had 1 or 2 drinks or something, they've gone around curves. I think texting does make other people more dangerous now. The prevalence of devices, it means everyone's a lot deadlier than it used to be, but you have a lot of control over it. And I think it's kind of a bad rap that bikers get as a whole, that they're all irresponsible and all crazy.
And I love that last point you said. What was it?
That biking's under your control and we're not all
Oh, yeah.
irresponsible.
The widespread misperception on motorcycling is you're insane. You motorcycle, you're insane. I would never do that, right? Mm-hmm. It's not accurate because of what Doodle's saying. A lot of guys that do get hurt are doing things that are extremely risky. They're not dressed properly. They're wearing flip-flops, shorts, a T-top, no helmet, and then they lay it down and they die. And the neighbor hears about it. Hey man, motorcycling's dangerous. And maybe that guy was lane splitting or just flying down the interstate at 125 miles an hour, weaving through traffic. A teenage girl didn't see him, pulled right in front of him. He goes launching, no protective gear, he's dead. You know, that day, the risk factor of that guy, and we're not speaking of anybody in particular, but that guy, I would say it's probably 70%, 30%. 70% chance you're going to die that day, 30% chance you're going to walk away. And it's just from sheer luck, not your skill. But risk, like Doodle says, if you're practiced, you're wearing the proper gear, you have a good skill set, you know your motorcycle, and you're not driving insane, I would say 90-10. 90% safety.
And that's proven by the rest of the world. America is the only one that has this unique, bizarre lens that we see through where if you're a biker, you're an insane person, that's a hobby. It's not something you can use to commute. It's not something you can use to live. It's not something that goes 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds and gets 60 miles a gallon. It's a toy, and I think that's mainly because of the styles of bike we use and the utility they lack.
Good point. It's the American perception that, hey, I got a motorcycle. Oh, cool. You use it every Saturday to go to Starbucks?
Yeah.
Well, not really. Like he's saying, overseas, it's a lifestyle. They use them like cars. They don't have cars because cars are too expensive. You know, they use too much gas. And so in India, all through Europe, third world nations, you see a lot of mopeds and motorcycles. It's a way of life in our family. In other words, we use motorcycles more than we use cars when the weather's good enough. I mean, I'm pulling down 40 miles a gallon, maybe if I'm him, 55 miles a gallon, depending on the bike. It's fun, it's entertaining, but it's a way of life. And by the way we dress, by our skill set, and by the way we ride all the time, 90-10 risk is where we're at. And a lot of that, again, depends on how you ride. Yeah, I wish we had a risk meter on our helmets. Wouldn't it be cool? It's like a little dial. So if you say, you know what, I'm going to start driving 180 miles an hour right now, and the risk meter goes like to the right.
Spikes.
It spikes, and you go, whoa. Because when I drive, honestly, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I bring it over from the piloting world because when you fly jets around, military and otherwise, you are constantly evaluating risk. You accept it and you manage it. You don't go, oh, we're canceling the mission. It doesn't work that way. You just say, this is what's a threat to my mission this day. How can I minimize that risk? We're still going. And that's what I do on a bike. For instance, when I was going over the pass of Reno last fall, when I did that nearly 1,000 miles on the Hayabusa, the risk was high because I was tired. I've been riding a long time. The lights of the vehicles or the cars coming in at in my direction, they were kind of blinding me because I had bugs all over my visor. So what I do, I slowed it down. I didn't go flying through that canyon at night to show what a BA I am, doing 80 miles an hour. I saw some other bikers doing it, but I wasn't up for it. So I slowed down and I'm driving like a car. As fast as a car, turning lanes as slow as a car.
And that's a good pointer, is if you want to be safe, drive it like a car.
Talk about that for a sec, because when you were learning, was about 1.5 years ago, I kept telling you that, right?
Yeah.
Tell them exactly.
I mean, because if you look at a car and the risk is so much lower, say, people perceive it. Maybe that's because people drive cars so much differently than they drive a bike. Maybe if you're on a bike, I think the way I like to drive, which I'm still an amateur, but I like to use that speed because it's fun, I get it, it's an awesome time. You can hammer it, and I hammer it to get up to the limit, but once I'm at the limit, pull back.
Drive it like a car. The advantage of doing that, in other words, though your bike can go super fast, The motorists in front of you may not see you coming. The guy merging out in front of the road may not see you coming. So if you decide that day to drive fast, manage your risk and decide, is it worth it? And anytime you drive past, and this is just me talking, past the limitations of a normal car driving, your risk is going up, because then other motorists don't have time to see you. They're distracted too. They're in their iPhone and they're not paying attention. They suck. So what? Welcome to life, right? And then because you decided to push it that day, you might have a bad day.
Well, people aren't good here at modeling bike behavior mentally. Like if they're going to do a right turn, pretty much anyone, because they don't see enough bikes on a daily basis to know how fast they are. If they see you coming down the road and they're thinking about turning right in front of you, they may think, oh, he's going car speed, I'll be able to get in front of him.
That's right.
A lot
Good
faster.
point.
If they pull in front of you, you rear end the rear. It's because they don't know what to expect from you. When you drive like a car, you're going those lower speeds. You have longer reaction times. You give them more time to react, and it's more predictable for the drivers around you. As long as you stay visible within that thing, you increase your safety margin by a lot, I'd say.
And if you're in a state that has seasons, spring, winter, summer, fall, and it's snowy where you live, and cars are not used to seeing motorcyclists all year like they are in California, like Doodle's saying, they may not be good at dealing with motorcycles. They don't know how fast you're going. They don't know how fast you can turn, change lanes. And it might be more risky for you. When I drive out in California, generally, nice pull by the way, generally people are paying attention because they see motorcyclists all year long. The state supports them too. You'll see big banners in California saying, watch out for motorcyclists. So the state supports it as a culture. Kind of a different point though. Risk, I do want to throw this in. Take safety courses. Huge. If you take a safety course, it will teach you some things you did not know already. I took that one at Alameda County Sheriff's Department. It was cool. Did I learn a bunch of new things? Not really, but I did learn some new things.
But that's concerning the fact you already had experience too.
I did.
And I think it's best to start with the safety course because even if they don't give you everything right off the bat to start perfect, it's awesome because it's this base to learn off of, and then they give you habits that help you learn more.
Good.
Help in a safe way.
There are all kinds of awesome resources too. I forget what. There's a guy who does crash testimonies in court, and he has a great motorcycle site where he talks about all the stuff that you wouldn't really consider. Stuff like braking distances and how people react. All these things that you don't think you need to know until you read it, and you're like, oh, I never even thought about that. Like visibility and locations within a lane. And if you're doing a minuing effect, then it can make you stand out instead of staying. It's the small stuff like that could end up making a huge difference in your safety overall.
We had a very serious discussion before we got back in motorcycling several years ago, true or false, as an entire family. And a lot of it has to do with life stage because the boys are older now. That 10%, maybe one day because I'm tired, because I just make a mistake. I'm human. Everybody is. I don't come home from a ride that day. The boys are old enough where their formative years are done. We had a very honest discussion about this. I'm not going to sit in front of the camera and say you will dial out all the risk of motorcycling. It won't happen. You can be
but it can be mitigated.
Right. You can really get to that 90%, 10%. I think that's a realistic ratio. Some guys may have different numbers. That's just kind of what I put down. And in a vehicle, a four-wheel car, maybe it's 80-20. Maybe, I don't know, it depends. Because riding your four-wheel, automobile is not totally safe. People are dying in them as we speak. True or false? So some people will say, oh, I can't believe you motorcycle. It's like, well, I can't believe you drive a car. Because nothing is entirely safe in life. There's a lot of lifestyles that are unsafe. We eat fat, we don't exercise. Is that safe? No. But there's a lot of different ways to manage the risks. But I was talking about life stage. We decided to bring motorcycles into the family again. We have had a mishap. He did walk away. LastSuspect lay down his bike.
SV650.
Yeah, in the canyon behind me. I saw it happen. There's a whole video out there. Watch it. We're not going to talk a lot about it here. He was properly attired, and that's a huge point. We brought that up at the beginning of this whole segment. Good helmet, full face helmet. He had good riding pants on, okay boots. He had a hit air on and gloves. He didn't walk away from it. He had a very serious break in his leg and in his foot. He had to go to the ambulance, hauled him out, but he's right here. He's here. And he's a lot wiser for the experience. True?
Totally.
We're still building his confidence level up to the point where he gets that 90%, 10% risk phase. Because a lot of it has to do with how much you drive, how confident you are. And so we take our safety course, and then it's a way of life. Not that we're just jumping on the bike 3 times a season. Because I think guys that do that seldom, they're not practiced.
Not ready.
They're not ready. You've got to practice something a lot to be good at
I think
it.
it brings something up too that's maybe it's a bit out there, but you should always say you do get a bike, only drive your confidence level. If you feel uncomfortable,
Good point.
you need to dial it back.
Good point. That's an excellent point.
Which is, I think, something I didn't really learn because honestly, in the canyon, I felt kind of uncomfortable in some of those turns. Push it, I'm like, nah, it's gonna be okay. And if you're not confident, that affects you in so many ways you don't realize, mentally, and even it can boil down to physically eventually, and that can cause a wreck.
And I looked at myself with the wreck, and I said, and I talked to the boys about this, I was like, well, I was setting probably a pace that was too fast for him, even though the boys...
But I should have said something.
I've always briefed the boys, though, I may do my own speed, you do your own speed slow, and I'll wait for you. True or false? That's the rule. Don't try to keep up with me. I have my own risk levels that I'm doing, my own skill sets, and I'm perfecting. But that's a good point. If you ride with other people, be very careful of ego. Because you may have your ego override your capabilities. I really got to keep up with these guys. Maybe they're in the dirt and you're hauling butt. And I've known guys like this, and they lay it down and get hurt really bad. They total their bike. Why? Because they're driving outside their skill set. Just what Suspect said. Don't drive outside your skill set. Stay well within your skill set, whatever that is. If you're a beginner, drive slow. Drive like a car. You know, I'm more of an advanced motorcyclist at this point. So I'm going to drive within my skill set, but I'm always evaluating risk. Road conditions. Do I have traction? Is there gravel? Wet leaves? Is there wildlife going to jump out in front of me? If you watch the videos at night, you'll see me driving a lot slower. All the lights on. Why? Because I can have a deer jump right out in front of me. And yet I know guys on a sport bike, they'll go blasting through the woods, and that's their own risk choices. We all make them at 100 miles an hour. And I just go, dude, I wouldn't do it. Not where there's wildlife. You know, you could hit a rabbit. So, risk levels. Oh, by the way, you're going to wreck. I want to throw that in before we move on.
Maybe not wreck.
You're going to lay your
drop
bike down.
Yeah.
You will lay your bike down, and it's a normal part of motorcycling. Don't worry about it that much. You might want to get a bike you can thrash on when you first start.
The cheaper, the
Or
more
I
you
recommend
use.
some of the
You want
fairing
something in good
protectors.
condition though, so it doesn't. Yeah, frame sliders always. Wear good gear too. A lot of guys I meet seem to think denim jeans and a hoodie.
JC
and
Penney
to them,
jacket.
They think that works. They're like, no, it's a hoodie.
And it's their life.
Yeah,
It's their life, and they're wearing
It doesn't.
freaking a hoodie and flip-flops.
Denim. I mean, in a bicycle accident, it'll shred right off. You're going 15 miles an hour, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't hold up. It bursts if you're even lucky enough where it doesn't.
That's
reparate all
probably a separate video.
Yeah, totally.
The motorcycle safety video. Let's morph into this. So someone goes, oh, motorcycling, I'm mature enough. I think I'm ready. Take on the responsibility. I've talked about the risk. I accept it. I'm going to get training. I'm going to get it right a lot so I get better, so I get to that 90% ratio. Motorcycles are too expensive, though. I can't afford them. What do you say, Doodle?
They're cheap.
Really?
Especially
Relative
compared
to
to
anything
cars.
else you get, the amount of performance you can. And this is where we're talking. Are we talking new bikes or are we talking used? Used, you can get awesome stuff. I see Hayabusas for around $6,000.
Yeah.
Something
Nice ones with low miles.
200 miles an hour for $6,000.
You can't
and
touch
you can
that in
get
the
40
auto
miles
world.
a gallon.
Yeah. Now, we're saying 200 miles an hour. We're not talking about that doing that on a public road.
No, I'm saying it's capable though.
Right.
Yeah, how much money do you
Just
have
in
to
case
spend for a
someone's
car to
wondering,
do that?
you know, on a track, you go run a quarter mile on it. I mean, get training. Just don't go out and launch. And I've said this on video. I mean, that bike will scare me. At least it has in the past. You work up to it. Okay, so for $2,000, $3,000, I could get into motorcycling. Absolutely.
I've seen
It's
beaters.
not an expensive hobby at all.
Ninja
at least to
250,
get
for
into it.
example.
Yeah, I wanted
Amazing
to buy that
mileage,
beater.
fun little bike.
$900 running.
Yeah. Go get a
$900.
Ninja 250. They got a 300 out now too, don't they?
Yeah.
The newer ones. You'll have to, and this is what we're talking about, is your choice of motorcycle and styles. We've left risk for now. There's all types, man, and they're all cool. We prefer, the ones you see on camera. Adventure motorcycling, sport motorcycling, a little bit of dirt motorcycling. I've kind of gone away from that because it just is so hard on the bike and it's expensive replacing everything when you lay it down.
And logistically, when you have to trailer the bike, it's a lot less fun than riding the bike out and then hitting dirt.
And we were doing that a lot in 2013 and burning through tires like crazy. I mean, we burn through our dirt tires. We get to the ride and go, our dirt tires about halfway burned through. Out bust another $250, $300 for tires. And it just was killing us. That being said, though, it's a lot cheaper than running the Titan truck out there. That's why you see me running the KTMs out into the desert a lot, because hauling gear, knife, axe test, gun test to 40 miles a gallon, you can't beat it.
Depends on where you are at too. I mean, maybe by you, there's an awesome place that has tons of dirt nearby or something.
Yeah,
like a
good
small
point.
little area to bike.
Some of the guys in the east have awesome trails.
Yeah.
And they got that hard
And
packed
that stuff is fun.
clay.
It's cool.
Dude, you know how aggressive I'd be in hard packed clay when it's dry, not muddy.
Cool.
Dude, I would tear up a hill all day long. The problem out in Utah or Wyoming when you're going up a hill out in the desert is there's big rocks everywhere. You lay down your bike, which you've seen me do on camera, by the way. It's damage. It's damage to the bike. You can bust a crankcase. You're going to destroy your fairings. It's just a lot of damage. Not to mention yourself. You can break something. So
Well, then straining yourself getting a heavy bike back up.
that's another thing. Like
Yeah.
yesterday, I was out on the KTM 1190 in Wyoming. You'll see some videos post on that. And I was pretty remote at times. I had my Spot Messenger 3 out. Case, something happened. Nothing happened. I'm really mellow. Getting back to risk. I'm driving smart. I'm evaluating risk. The risk evaluation last night was, it's nighttime. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. If this bike lays over and I can't get it up, like on a steep hill, I've almost been there, by the way. But what am I going to do? It's probably better to slow down and not lay it down. An ounce of prevention is worth 5,000 pounds of cure in that situation. So you're not going to see me ripping down there trying to prove that I'm, Joe Dirt Bike Rider or Joe Adventure Rider. I won't do that. I want to keep the bike in one piece. And once again, it's a lot of money to keep the bikes going, just normal maintenance. I'm talking like tires.
Oil.
Tires, oil. But buying the bike, affordable, maintaining them is what it is.
Insuring them can depend too. Depending on the
Insurance?
bike. That's why if you look at mine, I've moved to
So where we at time-wise? We're doing good.
650, a V-Strom, and
Yeah.
JR, because they're cheaper to insure. When I was insured
Yep.
on the other bikes, it was ridiculously expensive.
Why is it
$3,000 a
ridiculous
year.
to insure on Hayabusa though?
Because so many guys have wrapped themselves around poles with it.
Bingo. That's it. So you're in your 20s, you go, hey, I want to insure a Hayabusa, ZX14,
Good luck.
BMW S1000RR. Well, they look at the statistics. They go, well, people your age have been immature. They've wrecked it, totaled the bikes. You are at high insurance risk. There's your rates. And like Doodle's saying, there's other bikes that are lower rates, especially naked bikes or non.
I'd say do your
bikes.
research
Naked
too,
bikes are good.
especially
Absolutely.
people always look at it and I feel like most people get into bikes first like, yeah, I want a race bike. It's R6s and CBRs is the only thing they know. They never look at any alternatives. There's a
Look at
lot of great ones
everything.
out there.
I'd say it's better to do a whole different video because you can talk about bike
That's
styles
true.
forever. I think a lot of guys are seduced by they think there are two camps: the Harley camp, the super sport camp.
Yeah,
They don't think
and there's
you can
so much
use
more than that.
They don't think such a thing as like a supermoto or a dirt bike with blades exists, and they fall into either one of those two camps. They try it for a little while. They say it hurts my back on the sport bike. I don't like it so much. Harley's not fast enough for me.
Yeah.
Then they're looking through. There are whole different breadths. Every different niche in biking is covered.
Do your research.
But you don't get
There's
the
plenty of
exposure
forum
to it as a
posts for
normal
that.
person.
Let's go to philosophy of use then. So in TNP, POU is a huge thing. It's foundational. What you see with our motorcycles is a very distinctive philosophy of use. That this bike is designed to do this. The KTM 1190, for instance, it is designed to be a long-range off-road gear hauler. Is it designed to do, motocross? No. Are you ever going to see me going up these gnarly hills on it? I hope not. Because if I dump it, it's a bear to pick up again. And I would never do that alone, getting back to risk, because then I look around, hey, who's going to help me? Well, you got to help yourself. And I've been out there. I've been in the desert, even with this thing, dumped it, and it's a challenge. But look at each individual motorcycle and its philosophy of use. That's what we've done. So the FJR 1300 is a multi-state touring bike. That's its job. We're not going to go 200 miles. Maybe we're going 400 miles a day, 500 miles, that bike. And it's fast. It's sporty. It's fast. It handles the canyons. If you like systems, you like gear, you'll probably like motorcycling.
Motorcycle is absolutely down your alley.
It's right there, man. There are so many different gear items, modifications you can do with your bike. Stay subbed, by the way. We'll talk about that. Which will add to that philosophy of use. I'll give you just one super quick insight to that. Look at the KTM 1190 behind me, and I'll roll in inset footage. That light on the right is a Baja Designs Squadron Pro. high output LED. Okay, problem. The lights on all motorcycles are too dim. I'm coming out of canyons at night. We talked about the wildlife. It's high risk. Maybe vehicles can't see me. I want to light up the night. I went and I developed a system for it. Didn't find the lights I wanted. I went to Baja Designs, got that, built a custom mount for it, custom installation, boom. Stuff like that. So there's ways to make your motorcycle awesome. It's very gear intensive, systems intensive, and that in and of itself is a hobby, right?
Not to mention your gear for yourself.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of guys, and
yeah.
I'm even in that camp too. I like having options. When I'm commuting to school every day, it's cool having a different jacket, and it sounds princessy and stuff.
But there's different
like
purposes
I have
too.
The Roland Sands
So many
Ronin, I have an old
things.
Kushitani. It's cool.
All of which he
I like
buys
that.
used, by the way.
Yeah, used always.
We buy a
Used
lot
is
of
awesome.
used gear. In fact, motorcycles, I have no reservation whatsoever buying a used motorcycle. That's a 2006 we bought. The FC1 Selena is an 08. I bought a 2012 V-Strom. It's been sold, and other bikes. If it's well kept, it's coming from a responsible user.
I'd say watch out for mods though. If something's with the engine, and
really
they
depends on the
sell
person.
it.
But I'd say it's
It
not
depends on
like
the person.
cars, because people put a lot of miles on cars. It's not at
Yep.
all uncommon to find a bike that's
Yeah,
pushing
true.
almost 10 years old and it has 5,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
The problems you're going to have on it are more stuff like corroding, getting old. It's refurbishment stuff you can do on your own. And they're a lot simpler than cars. You don't have as
Yeah.
much stuff to go wrong. The parts are usually kind of cheap in most cases.
Yeah.
Depends really on the model. But
Yeah.
I don't have that many reservations. You got to check it out yourself just like normal and be ready to do the maintenance. But it's not like everything else where, someone's driving their F-150 every day doing a 200-mile commute.
True. You can find bikes with extremely low miles on them from great owners, and that gets to the point too, is a lot of motorcyclists, we mentioned this already, United States driving versus the rest of the world, they don't use their motorcycles a lot. They intend to. How many times have you seen a motorcycle up for sale and they go, hey, I just don't have time to ride? And to that I say, well, you're not using it right, because you should use it like a car. You need to run an errand, run your bike. You get better in the process, that practice we talked about, you're saving money, it's fun. So, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They're like, yeah, it's recreational. Once a Saturday during the summer, I'll take it out and ride. I have a neighbor like that. I just shake my head. I don't get it. We're not like that.
I think a lot of
At all.
it is cargo, though. I mean, if you're going to get into it, look into cargo
It's
options
never
for the
stopped
bike.
us, though.
Look for, like boxes, a top case, bags, any of those systems, because that's always what people say. Well, I have nowhere to put my stuff.
I'm running a Tour Tech frame on my 1190 right now. What do you have on yours?
SW Motec.
So he has a frame on his, but even like the 690, the KTM 690, I haul a buttload of gear on that. So I've hauled 3 AR-15s, full ammunition, survival kit, clothing for the day, food and water, and gas for the day on a freaking 690. There's ways to get it done if you're willing to do it. Now, the 690, its philosophy of use is more technical. There's some areas I need to go that I will not take the 1190. It's just too big and heavy of a bike. The 690 comes into play and it's like, boom, time to tear it up. Maybe do a little dirt biking. Styles though. We got to press for time. You can do cruiser bikes, sport bikes, adventure bikes. You pick. They're all cool. I think most people, when we drive in Utah, most people are like cruisers.
Yep.
I see a lot of cruiser bikes. I see a few
Which
sport
we're not
bikes.
really about, but
No, it's not our cup of tea, but hey man, and when it comes right down to it, motorcyclists are all in the club.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've pulled up to a gas station on the Hayabusa, and there's some cruiser guys there on their Harleys. We have a great visit with each other, because ultimately, we're all motorcyclists. We get it. We're in a freaking club, and it's cool to be in that club. Another entire reason to be in the motorcycling community. People like to feel part of something, and I was at a restaurant the other day, and I was dressed down. No one knew who I was, thank heavens. And I was just watching these Harley guys visit with each other. There were like 5 really beautiful Harleys off on the side, and they sat there for an hour just talking. Just talking. And then I wasn't on my bike that day, I was in a car. And as they went to the parking lot, we started talking. I was like, yeah, a ride. And they were asking places to go where we were at. And I told them. And we had a great discussion. They were asking me what I ride. I told them. But it wasn't like, oh, you ride a sport bike? We're going to quit talking to you. Well, I had a little bit of that attitude, but not much. Generally, it's a big club in it, though. Choose your style, though. What's the highest mileage you've seen on your FGR 1300 then you said?
55.
Okay, and that gets to another point I want to talk about, saving money. We've kind of hit this already. They're pretty inexpensive to buy, the motorcycles, if you go to like Cycle Trader, great website by the way, that's where we got this one, the white one. We ordered that from North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. We had it shipped. We used motorcycleshippers.com to get it to the house. And even after the shipping expense, it was way less than we could find anything locally. And that's a clean bike, is it not? Whoever owned that bike took premium care of it. They never laid it down. It's a really cool bike. Versus buying a car, and you said it, I can go 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds or whatever. Heck, even faster now. The boost is like 2.5.
Totally.
I mean, what kind of money are you going to have to spend on a car to get that level of performance?
A lot more.
And then what does
60
it cost
plus?
to insure it once you have it?
Yep.
My
And
FGR
gas
cost me $230.
Yep.
And that's for comprehensive collision, $1,000 deductible. But
It's cheaper than cars all the way around, and that's where I want to put the focus right now, is on economy. You can lane split in states, well, in the state where it is legal, California. That saves time. That saves
or if you're
money.
overseas.
Yeah, they do it all the time. It's a way of life over there. How about parking? Parking.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Talk about.
I've had so many times. I mean, I'm still in school because I'm a teenager, and it's amazing because my parking lot's always crammed to get out. So instead,
Yeah.
I'll just go find a place on the parking,
we're
or on
doing
the concrete on the sidewalk.
There you go.
a lot of places have moto parking
awesome.
where it's, like the
Yep.
handicap spot, boom, moto parking next to it.
Which is
So
either
nice.
free or highly reduced costs. California is way that way. They love motorcycles because I think they perceive motorcycles as polluting less and using less resources. Sometimes, depending on the motorcycle, that may or may not be true. It doesn't. We won't get into that. But a lot of states and areas welcome them, and they go, "Hey, heck, parking in California. It's commonplace when I'm out there to see bikes just parked in on the sidewalk in front of the business. People just walk by and just like, well, whatever.
Because for
They don't care.
one parking spot can become a spot for 4 or 5 bikes.
It's so small. You take up
Awesome.
basically a 6 foot by 2 foot area. Insurance, we talked about how it can be expensive for sport bikes. It can.
All over the place.
But how about in comparison to automobiles overall? Less or more?
And even then within
I'd
sport
almost say
bikes,
more for most
so
of the
many
bikes
options.
most people want.
I wouldn't say that.
For sport bikes and stuff, for most of the things guys want.
Well,
a
you're
lot of
talking
Harleys
sport
are
bikes. What
pretty
about
pricey.
like the Suzuki DL650? How much is that to insure?
But that's another old man bike.
No, it isn't. All types of people
It is
drive that
insure.
bike.
Well, it's kind of the stigma.
You're driving it? Are you an old man?
I'm the youngest guy I've ever seen on one.
It's not an old man bike. It's a great bike. It's a multi-purpose bike. It can do everything. Dude, the guy that I bought the Yamaha FJR 1300 from the dealership, and by the way, I had to go all the way to North Hollywood to get that bike in that color, by the way. It was completely gone everywhere else. And the bike, he had his choice of bikes to drive. What was he driving?
V-Strom 650 2013.
Yep. 2013 DL650. He loved it.
It's a good bike.
Because it was cheap. He had a huge commute. He was pulling down 50 mpg plus insurance for him. He was probably around 40 years old. Very inexpensive. They save money. And we could go on and on about this, but we got to press. Reasons to own motorcycles. We talked about responsibility, gear intensiveness, all that stuff. How about if you take a trip, you're going touring, is it a different experience on a motorcycle versus an automobile?
Absolutely.
Huge difference.
Talk to him.
You need more planning, I
It's more
think.
visceral. You're in the
Okay.
environment rather than just looking out a window at it.
Right. People who haven't motorcycled may have a hard time understanding that. And we try to show that with our footage. And honestly, we haven't really done that many motorcycle videos. Very few. I would like to do more. There's a lot more TNPers who are getting into it. Maybe after this video, there'll be more. That's cool. We welcome you. Glad to have you. It's visceral. It's different when you're on a motorcycle. You're part of the environment much more so than you are in an enclosed automobile.
It's not as much like the Jurassic Park slot car tour where you're just kind of moving in there, because that entire lane you can use. You have a 2 or 3 times the width of your bike that you can kind of maneuver in. You can feel the air, the wind, the smells, the changes in atmosphere.
I think that's one of those things that it really is kind of tough to communicate. And that's why there is this kind of club culture around biking, is because if you've done it,
People
you
get it.
that. Yeah,
People
you
get
understand
it.
it.
It's an
mutual.
instant bond. You got, yeah, dude. You like freedom. You like being independent. You like being in charge of your life, and it's an automatic connection with that person. And you could be, for instance, I've talked to people I know for a fact that are completely on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, and yet when we're done talking with each other, we're like best friends. And I'm totally cool with that. And you walk away and go, hey, I got a new friend. Motorcycle. But touring is different. And you're talking about street riding. It's almost even better when you're out in the desert or in the woods. If I'm backpacking, I cover 5 miles. If I'm on a motorcycle, like yesterday, I cover 400. I saw, well, not quite. It was about 385 when it was all said and done. A long freaking ride. My butt was sore. And but the things I saw, I'm just driving and I'm going, gosh, this is so epic. You know, you lift the visor up, you catch the smells, you see the sunset, you see the wildlife come out. I was, you know, a grouse was jumping out in front of me, and I followed him for a while. Stupid birdie wouldn't even fly away. Stupid, they're so dumb.
They're so dumb.
I'm like, dude, fly, and he's like, not flying. He's like, oh, just goof around, and I just drove around him eventually. It's fun. It's a great way for people to let down their guard too. You might be in a vehicle, for instance. Let's say you're in a Corvette, gassing up. Well, Corvette maybe not the best example, because people will talk to you about that car.
Mm-hmm.
But any other car, generally they won't come up and talk to you. But when you're on your motorcycle, how many times we had people just start chatting?
No, all the time.
All the time.
All the time. How do you
Even
like
people
it?
who don't motorcycle come up and talk to you.
Yeah.
And that happened to me in California a couple weeks ago. They just come up and they go, they love the bike. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it can do. They just love the looks. And this one guy said it best. He goes, I see that bike and I think of freedom. That you're a person that likes freedom, is what he said. I thought that was interesting. A good takeaway. Motor touring. And we are to thank Ewan McGregor for that, by the way. Long way around. He did his around the world motorcycle video. Awesome. With Charlie Borman. Go check it out if you haven't. We got to move on. Other reasons to have a motorcycle. Do you like speed? This is so important. I'm breaking it out into its own talking point. Notice, by the way, we did not lead off with that.
Mm-hmm.
This is not our lead off. We talked about responsibility, training, experience, knowing your machine, all that stuff. But it's okay to want to go fast. You can do it safely. You can do it responsibly. Does it mean your risk meter is always pegged at 90-10? No. It could, you know, because you decide to go faster in that certain situation, maybe you bring it down to 80-20. Depends. But you know what? We're free. You're free to choose your life and what you want to do. You know, as long as you don't put others at risk, I hope you don't, it's your life. I like going fast. Does that mean that I'm always going fast? No, it just means once in a while, I think you said this, I'm doing a merge on the interstate, I'll ramp it up.
Yeah.
I'll get on.
I think it's one of the best ways to utilize too. I don't know if I already talked about it, but
Go ahead.
I love being able to have the speed because it's there when you need it past somebody, and the funnest way to use it is, all right, I need to speed up. I'm gonna get up to the limit. What everybody else is doing, once I'm there, pull it back, chill.
Yep.
And that's awesome because you can drive safely that way, and you can still enjoy that speed.
And you can enjoy that acceleration factor. Do you have fun when you do it?
Oh yeah.
I know you do, because he comes
It's
back and
fun.
goes, oh my gosh, that bike, this bike behind us, the white one. He'll come back, that bike is so cool. I was like, it is cool, man. It's just, and then chill out. And while we're doing that, it's not the, hey man, I'm not paying attention to what's going around me. No, we're checking 6.
Yeah.
We're checking our 3 o'clock. I see this car, I see that car, I'm looking at the traction. It's not raining, no cops. Get on it.
You're looking
okay.
as far ahead as you possibly can. too.
Absolutely.
And it's intensive.
Planning
That's
ahead.
why I commute in freaking economy mode so often, where I'm just driving like a car and chillax because it's less intense.
It's less
and
work.
grueling.
And never let stuff take you by
Less work.
surprise. To always plan for if you're gonna have to turn abruptly or anything like
good
that.
point.
Never just go full speed, being like, all right, this is good, I'm fine, until you get a corner and go, uh-oh, I need to slow down.
Kind
And
of
that's one of the
like you
scariest
did in the canyon that day.
But
I think that's what happened.
overran
I'm not
yourself a bit.
positive. So it was a great takeaway, a great lesson. And he's absolutely right. You're always looking, always planning, especially when you decide to get on it. Because I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but if you decide to get on it and you're not paying attention that you're going through a 4-way intersection with 4-way stop signs, and here comes another car and it's dusk, and by the way, the sun is behind you, and you decide, hey, I'm going to get on it right now. You're on a 2-lane highway, no one's out there, but you and that car coming to the 4-way intersection, you start ripping at about 100 miles an hour, they don't see you and they pull right out in front of you. Anytime I go through an intersection, I'm freaking paranoid. I slow down, I'm really, really looking around because I'm asking myself, I'm evaluating that risk that we talked about, and I go, can I stop in time? Can I scrub off enough speed to live if I T-bone this guy? Can I avoid him? If the answer is no, probably not a good time to get on it. You're constantly evaluating the circumstance and the conditions.
That stuff you should address when you're doing your safety research too, because there are different things. Like it's not always most efficient to turn around something. If it's coming this way, it's more effective to plow through it. You should already have all these scenarios prepped in your mind.
In the safety course, he almost said that. He's like, you're better off to scrub off all your speed, hit the car, instead of try to maneuver and brake at the same time. That's kind of its own thing. Okay. So, do you like speed? It's okay to like speed. And by the way, even a basic motorcycle will destroy most cars. DL650. How about it's an adventure bike. It's 650cc Suzuki. You've had a couple cars challenge you on that, right?
Yeah. Funny enough, it'll take some stuff. MC News got 3.980 to 60 out of it.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty small motor.
Adventure.
Yeah.
Adventure bike. So I do like going fast. Will I gravitate towards bikes that are faster? Absolutely, I will. But I also want economy, and it doesn't mean I'm driving fast all the time. In fact, these days I'm driving mostly for economy with what I call wind sprints. A wind sprint is like, you just come up, come right back down. But to each his own, man. Going fast is its own reason.
I hold with no effects, everything in moderation, especially moderation. I think there are times, and I do it, there are times when I go out and I do a speed run and I'm driving fast. I'm, indulging in the speed drug, but that's not all the time. It's like a different driving mode. You have econo, you have sport, you have comfort if you're too up.
Yep. And I worry about the boys a lot. In fact, I love that he drives slow, and so does he. So I'm totally good with that. Preston, gotta go. Another reason to have a motorcycle, and something you need to consider before you take it up and go through the expense of buying one, doing all the stuff we've talked about, do you have a co-rider available? Okay, it doesn't mean you have to, but it seems to be funner. If someone matches your riding style, in other words, you're not always, at odds with each other how you ride. If you are, you probably don't mesh.
Even then, you may prefer to be on your own, though, and that's fine too.
That is fine. But like yesterday, I did the ride alone, and I was really wishing one of these two guys were with me. There you go. I really wish, because I saw so many cool places, so many things that I wanted to share with someone. I like having a co-rider, if at all possible. The obvious support factor should also be addressed. In other words, you have a breakdown, you drop your bike, you have someone to help you, you get really, really hurt, someone can summon for help, they can provide first aid. That's really important. If you go ahead.
There's plenty of tiny things within that, though, where I think you should be ready. You should have a plan how you're going to ride and the configuration. And if possible, we have Sena headsets, which is awesome for being able to communicate with each other.
Well,
if not,
safety.
Hand
It's
signals.
necessity. That is for safety. Right.
Just plan ahead and make sure you got everything together. I think it's awesome, too, if you're going to somebody, make sure you have like a destination or something. Even if that's as simple
goal.
as lunch.
A goal.
Yeah.
We always do that.
Food's awesome.
So like yesterday, my goal was to go find some really cool places for a gear test. Oh, that was my goal. I was like, I got to find a good place. I want to go to some place new. So it was a goal-oriented ride. Going out and riding just for the sake of riding is cool, and we do that a lot, but it's better to have a goal. And that's why you see the ride needs the lunch, for instance. So co-rider, if you're going to somewhere remote, again, it could be super important to have it. Is it always necessary? No. Probably you should have like a GPS spot messenger. Pay for the service. It's a pain in the butt, $150 a year. I know, it sucks. But if you go down, you're injured, you can't help yourself, at least you can summon a search party. Maybe you have a compound fracture. Like you're wrecked. Can you imagine if you'd been out in the desert all alone?
It would have sucked.
You would have had to use your spot messenger. Hey, I'm down. I need sheriff's department to come get me. So play it smart. And the other aspect, of course, is sharing the ride, the memories. I did a ride with Matt Skutnick in California. So fun. The stuff we did, it's whole separate videos. By the way, you should subscribe to the B channel like yesterday, because a lot of those videos are going to go on the B channel. Come on in, Mrs Nutton. Say hi to the camera. Mrs Nutton's coming in real quick. Speaking of co-rider, she was my co-rider today. Come here. Just pop in real quick. She's coming off the treadmill.
Hello.
Did you like that ride today?
Yeah, that was good.
Come here so they can see you. Okay, so what did we do today? Super short. Tell them.
And we went up in the mountains and had lunch.
Yeah. So it's a pizza place in Park City is where we went.
It's good.
Yeah. Did you get scared at all on the ride?
Nope.
Nope. Did we get on a little bit?
Yeah.
Here and there, right?
It was windy.
Here and there we got on it, though.
Yeah.
right? And this
That's
is
good.
another great point about being a co-rider. Not just someone else on a motorcycle, but someone like your sweet wife who can be on the
Sweet.
back. Who can be on the back of the motorcycle. You just want to like move from the camera as fast as possible, don't you?
Yeah.
That wasn't set up at all, was it?
Nope.
She just came in, check in on us. But someone on the back of the motorcycle to share the experience. They're on intercom with you. It's way fun, right?
Make sure you're prepared for that though, because passenger has a lot more responsibility
Ooh,
too,
good
and
point.
planning and.
And the bike handles completely
And
different.
weight.
Yeah.
Completely differently.
Yeah. So if I were a passenger, I would really ask the person, do you have experience riding someone else around? If the answer is no,
And gear.
yeah, go get someone else. And
So
gear.
much to think
Oh,
about.
I've seen sport bike, and I love sport biking. I love the culture of sport bikers. I think they're cool. They're really cool. In fact, I really get along with them well. But sometimes I see them riding their girlfriend on the back. No gear at all. She's got
Flip-flops.
flip-flops, pants, sometimes a helmet, sometimes no helmet, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, please put on the full gear. It's the least you can do for someone that you love, or at least like Doodle's girlfriends, you slightly like.
Tolerate on weekends.
You slightly like. We got to press on. We talked about the club thing already. You're in a club.
Yeah.
That is cool. I want to hit that again, how important that is. And this is why you see, we kind of make fun of it, but sometimes you go past a Harley dealership and you'll see guys just hanging out.
Their entire
Awesome.
branding is built around it. It's what saved
It's a
them
club.
from bankruptcy. They want it to be a family,
Yeah.
and they have
Yeah.
the strongest
That's
one
fine.
of all.
Yeah.
You have a Harley, you're a Harley guy. Dude, I got an 883 iron. That's awesome.
There's nothing at all
Sportster,
wrong
fat
with that.
boy, Softail.
Because dudes should have friends and bond over something. And I can't think of a better thing to bond and spend time with another dude over rather than a motorcycle. Maybe it's a firearm, that's great. But motorcycles are it. Like those guys I was talking about at the cafe where they're all hanging out. It's like, that fills a need in dudes. It's just fun. It's fun talking about cars, it's fun talking about motorcycles, and other people who see it the way you do. And you have an instant connection because you're a motorcyclist. You have all types of experiences to share. For instance, Last Suspect here. How many times have you been able to connect with people with you laying it down in the canyon?
A lot. Even just having a motorcycle in general, though, I think
In life.
comes up a lot.
In life. So
That's true.
It sucked. We're not going to sit in front of the camera and say it rocked. It didn't. It was expensive, and we were super
I
scared.
got a pretty
and we're
cool
lucky
blanket
he
out
survived.
of it, though, so. Got
And a
that
hospital
great.
bracelet. The nurses loved him, by the way.
They were way cool.
Mrs Nutnfancy.
I got to be
Why are you in
pediatrics,
camera? Everybody
which
wants
is
you to be in
awesome.
camera. We're ugly and you're
No.
cute. They want to see you, not us.
That's fine.
Your mom looks like she's like, I don't know, 30? Come here.
That's right. 30.
By the way, I think this is your helmet. It is. Check it out. This is Mrs. Nutton's helmet. There you go. Right there. There you go. That is a good point, though, about your wreck and how it makes you empathetic with a lot of things, right? Unrelated to motorcycling. Went through suffering, rehabilitation. He still has titanium in his leg. Can you raise your
Still
leg
has
up
pain.
high enough?
I'm more man.
Sometimes.
Can you lean back so they can see it? Check this
fine.
out. This is his scar right there. So the titanium rod runs right through here.
On this side. he's
That's
got
pretty
one
cool.
Works
Chicks
fine.
dig scars, and then they also dig it when you say, yeah, I had a pretty gnarly motorcycle wreck. I got titanium.
Doesn't mean
in
you
my
want to go
leg."
out there looking for it, though.
No, you don't. It's fun to hang out, be part of it. And then we talked about systems already. If you like gear, you like systems, dude, motorcycling is where it's at. When Mrs. Nutton goes with us, I pat her up like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
That's right. I hate it.
Like today's ride, what did I tell you to put on?
Those stupid padded shorts. I hate them.
I totally did.
Free
Yeah.
ride.
Oh, and it was a
armored
fight.
Shorts.
It wasn't a fight.
With hip
It wasn't
padding
a
in the
fight.
pants.
She's like, I look so fat in these. I was like, no one cares how you look. I want you padded.
I
Yeah.
look like 10 feet wide, and I don't like feeling like I'm constricted. Like, they're snug. I like to wear my clothes so they're snug.
You do?
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was going to say,
drives
that's
me
something new
crazy.
if you like that.
But I
But
can't afford to get, you know.
these are padded pants that
Injured.
if I went down on the KTM 500, you may remember that video, TMPers. I had a huge hematoma on the side of my, that's the helmet I crashed in right there. HJC Cymax 3, great helmet. It saved my face. And that's when the brake rotor basically came off, stopped the wheel from rotating. I go down on a mixture of pavement and gravel. That hematoma was on the side of my thigh for a year. I did not have my padded pants on that ride, and I learned a big lesson. So, there you go. Gear.
Final things, though.
Gear. Oh, we'll end with, where are we at time-wise? Oh, we're just right. We got to wrap it up. Cool factor. Our motorcycle's cool.
Absolutely.
To guys, yes. To girls, if you're looking to impress them, get a moped. The cuter, the better. I'm
Not for me.
again, voice of experience.
It's mind blowing.
Okay,
It's true. I don't know why it works.
600 in high school. No one gave a shit. The guy with the Honda Ruckus, rock star.
That's true.
Rock star.
That's true.
Ruckus.
They love cute two-wheeled conveyances.
Cuter and less offensive.
But
the
if
better.
you're getting a two-wheeled vehicle to impress somebody for looks, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think it's something we should touch on really quick.
Oh,
is
great. I
motorcycles.
totally agree.
I know so many
Do
kids
it for
in
yourself.
high school that come up to me.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, how can I get in riding stuff?" And I get the
Here,
vibe
lean
that
a
a
little bit
lot
more
of
so you can see
them
it.
are they're kind of they want one to look cool, and that's why the first things come up is a Ninja, an R6, things like that. No, awesome.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but
Yep.
that's for a specific purchase, and I feel like some of those, depending on which one you get, are uncomfortable, or maybe you're not going to be using it that much. And make sure you get a bike not just to look cool. I mean, I guess it can be part of it, but the main reason should be to ride it, to enjoy it, that you
Amen,
like
brother.
the bike.
I'm so glad you remember that point.
Every hobby
Oh,
has its
that's
posers, though. We know a guy
That's
who
true.
has a mint Porsche. Was it like a 911 or something from the 80s?
Never rides
Never
it.
touches it. Doesn't touch it. Leaves it in his garage.
like,
but
dude.
he'll talk to you about it all day. Oh, dude, I love my Porsche.
I was like,
It's
how's the
so
Porsche
awesome.
doing? He's like, awesome. I was like, you never ride it. He's like, I know. I should
Battery's
ride it.
probably dead.
He's like, I like to keep it nice. I was like, dude, you're going to be dead soon, and you should write it. And a lot of what we're saying is about getting out and living life. Hey, Mrs. Nutton, was it funner to go out on the motorcycle today versus a car?
Yeah.
It's funner. It's what we said. It's more of an adventure. It's more of a sport. Is it a risk? Kinda. Depends, but we did it safely, obviously. And I pride myself in being a safe, competent motorcyclist, always learning, always trying to perfect and get rid of the mistakes I make. And I continue to make mistakes. Always will. I was like, I shouldn't have done that. And I come away from it learning and humbled sometimes. That makes you a good motorcyclist. I think the best motorcyclist is someone that realizes he or she is fallible. And that you are doing motorcycling for the right reason. Not like for guys like, well, I'm just getting a bike to be cool. That's the wrong reason. It is cool. We want to end with that. It's fun. And you can really relate to a lot of people. And that is its own thing. But that's not why we have it. Do we have guns because we want to be cool?
No.
No. Do we have motorcycles because we want to be cool? No. It's there. It's kind of fun. It helps us bond with other people. You know, it garners attention. If that's what you're about, awesome. But there's a lot more reasons to have it.
It's a big risk just to look cool, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different avenues you could take to.
But if you're watching this,
cool
don't
on a
make
bike.
it, because it sounds like it's a lot to do, but people dumber than you bike all the time.
Yeah.
They're pretty good at it. Because
It
if you
is
watch
true.
this and you're thinking about it, you might think it sounds too daunting. It's like talking
Yeah.
about how to get into med school.
It's not.
possible. It's not.
Yeah.
This isn't the ivory tower discussion where we talk down to you and tell
Well
you about
said.
how
I
impossible
totally
it is
agree.
for your average person. Yeah, some people just can't really drive, but they're very small as a group.
Yeah.
And you can always teach yourself to. It's not like it's completely impossible. If you know your shortcomings, you can work through them. Like if you know you're not very aware, that's something you got to target and address and get better.
To me, if you're a gun owner, it really goes hand in hand with a motorcycle owner. There's a lot of parallels. Like Doodle introed with dangerous things. Motorcycle, potentially dangerous. Firearms, potentially dangerous. Can we operate and own these things day by day safely? Yes, we can. And it makes us better people. It makes us more independent. We're enjoying our freedom. We're making the most of life. It keeps us mentally sharp too. Because when you're on the road, your life is pretty much dependent. And today, our two lives were dependent on how I drove that vehicle. In a winding canyon with lots of traffic. And I dig it. I like it. It's fun. And it's a challenge. Is it ultimately safe? Not ultimately, but it can be safe if you do it properly.
I was
And
talking
man bikes
to
are cool.
my buddy Pretzel the other day, and I keep telling him to get guns because he acts like they're the coolest thing ever. And he always says the same thing. He's like, I would love to, but my wife and I, we can't because statistically it's more likely to kill someone in your home than anything else. I'm like, raw numbers only tell you so much. He can, like us, I've grown up around guns. It was totally safe. No ADs, no problems.
Yep.
It comes down to training and usage.
Watch my video, Children of the
Responsibility.
Gun. Both these kids are products of that process. The motorcycle process is no different. You start small, you work up. And I will tell you this, I started late with both of these guys. So it wasn't from the age of 3. Yeah, but we're talking within the last couple of years that we started riding. And they're mostly safe.
Mostly.
Mostly safe.
Give or take.
That's it.
That's bikes.
Mrs Nutnfancy's going to go hit the treadmill again. Are you already done? You're probably done.
I'm
already.
done
We worked that thing out in our family.
for
by the way.
today.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Ask yourself those questions and see if it's right for you. I hope to see you out on the road. If you're on two wheels and you see us on two wheels, please come up and share the experiences. See ya.
Ride safe.